Hello, my name is Kalo Haslam, and this is Fearless Teaching, Google Slides for Dynamic Classrooms. All right, so this is a recorded one. I apologize I could not be there. So hopefully you can hear this. Hope everything works. The bit.ly is in this slide here, but it's also on most of the slides as well down at the bottom. If there are any questions about this, please feel free to reach out to me on social media. I will give those things to you as we go, or you can reach out to the conference people in charge and they can get you my contact information. Hopefully you enjoy. If there's any questions about the sketch, then it's down there at the bottom as well. CEU questions, there you go. Hopefully you know. I don't know anything about the CEUs. I'll introduce myself here in a minute, but here's some more of the kind of the nuts and bolts of the conference type stuff. So hopefully you know this stuff. If not, reach out to some of the people that are running the conference for you. At the end of this closing session, receive an email. Please fill out for attendance. It'll close 24 hours afterwards. I'm not issuing certificates. They are, again, so again, this is some more of the logistical stuff for the conference. All right, so my name is Kalo Haslam. I am an instructional technology facilitator at Dunn Middle School in Harnett County. There is my contact information. There's my social media stuff. Hopefully you enjoy this and you want to go check out my other stuff that I've done. I was asked to be here and present this to you, so here I am. With the recording, I try to be there, but then you know how it works. Schools tell you, hey, you need to be doing something else, and they fill up your time, and your conference is on one of our mandatory work days, and it's full already. So here it is. Hopefully you enjoy. And nice part about this is you can go back and watch it as many times as you want. Hopefully you enjoy it. So here's the ISTE standards that are associated, and if you're doing stuff that's dynamic, if you're doing something that's integrative, if you're doing something that's creative, there are so many ISTE standards that apply across all of the levels. That's student, that's educator, that's the administration, that's all of them. So obviously here's some that you can go ahead and look into. Here's some more ISTE standards for students. Educator standards, learner, leader. Hopefully you're learning, and then hopefully you're using it and you're leading. Here's some more. You're a designer. We are designers, just like students are designers. You design stuff whether you think you do or not. Whether you design stuff that's very dynamic, whether you design stuff that's just a handout and basic, you're still a designer. But how are you designing stuff? Are you doing it to maximize and deepening learning? And hopefully today's will give you another tool for that. Educators again. Here's your education leaders. They are in this too. Okay. So again, it's all about that. It's all about us teaching the students. So I'm going to start here. And obviously we're not going to be able to do a response to this, but I want you to think about this, okay? What do you see in this picture? And I'm going to give you 30 seconds or so to kind of look at it. What do you see in this picture? What do you see? What do you see? What do you see? All right, you can put it in the chat because hopefully other people are looking at it. Hopefully you see something. So if you haven't seen all of it yet, if you look at this, you have a rabbit on this side. On your facing to the right, there's the eyeball, and then these are the ears. Or if you look at the other side, you have a duck. It is still the same image. There's the snout, there's kind of a tongue, there's the eye, and this is the back of the head, which would have been the rabbit's front of the head. Same picture, didn't change. Perspective of it does. Once you normally see both of them, you can switch your eyes back and forth. Sometimes you see one of them, someone points out the other version of it, and you cannot see the first one anymore without really trying really hard. All right, let's try another one. What do you see? Okay, I'll give you, like I said, 30 seconds or so to kind of look at it. Put it in the chat of the conference, of this session. See what other people see. See if you can see what they see. All right. All right, if you haven't seen it, you have a young lady here. There's her nose, this is her ear, and this is her forehead, and this is her hat. Then you have like what would be like a neck choker collar, a necklace here. Or you have an old lady. This is her chin, and this is her mouth, and this is her nose, and of course, there's the wart, okay? And this is her eye instead of the girl's ear. So again, same image, different perspectives looking at it. Your eyes see it one way. Normally you then can see it both ways. Sometimes you can see them overlapping, you see them at the same time, and then it really makes no sense. But quite often you have to flip back and forth. All right, where's all this going, okay? So this is about Google Slides, this PD. And you have these two images here, and you're looking at them one way. Well, quite often, when you look at Google Slides, you see them as Google Slides. You see them as a slide presentation. I don't see many people ever using Google Slides outside. Today we're going to make a presentation, and you're going to stand in front of the class. You're going to present it to everybody, which is not a terrible thing to do. Public speaking, learning how to talk in front of a crowd, learning how to deliver information, making slides that don't have a lot of information without a lot of words, that kind of stuff. But when you see Google Slides, I want you to ask your question towards the end of this is, what do you see? Do you still see slides? Because hopefully we change your mind. Because this right here is Google Slides. And Google Slides are not just for presentations. Okay? There was a podcast I was listening to a while ago, and the gentleman said every tool is like a Rubik's Cube. Just adjust it a little bit, and you can change the whole look of it. You can change it to meet your needs. It's a tool, many tools. There are some that are very niche, very small, that they meet a need, and that's kind of it. But in general, if you look at digital tools, especially digital tools in these age, if you look at a digital tool, and it might be very mathy or very story-like for ELA, but if you manipulate it a little bit, can you change it for social studies? Can you augment it for science? Can you adjust it in order to meet a different need? Many of our subjects overlap. So you could use it and just change the subject matter that's attached to it. But every tool is like a Rubik's Cube. Just adjust it to meet your needs. So, again, this is about Google Slides. And Google Slides, hopefully by the end of this you'll understand, are not just for presentations. So here's our learning objectives today. You'll be able to identify ways that you can adapt your units to implement Google Slides, but not for presentations. You can still use them for presentations. I'll allow it, but not just for presentations. You'll demonstrate a practical use of Google Slides through modifying a layout that I give you based on a targeted application. And you'll construct artifacts in this PD demonstrating your ability to use Google Slides. So, here's this big thing that's going on right now, is students are so used to playing this game of school. They come in, they sit down, they absorb information, they regurgitate the information, they pass the quiz or do their best, they pass the test or do their best, and they move on. We have got to get them out of that, because that's not how the world works. That's not how your job works. That's not how my job works. And I was reading this book called Neuroteach, and it states that one of the biggest killers of learning is boredom. Boredom kills the potential for learning. Even if the potential is there, even if students are open to it, think about your high flyers. And if your high flyers are bored, they don't learn very well, or at least at their maximum. When you have your lower kids, when they go to learn and they're bored, they check out. And you're not even getting them to where they need to be because they're bored. So for learning to be fun, it needs to be challenging. Easy quickly becomes boring. And boring is most definitely not fun. Remember, they don't have an option to sit in that seat. They gotta be there. Now, what you do with them while they're in that seat is 100% up to you. But challenging does not always mean harder. Challenging sometimes means challenging different skills, challenging creativity, challenging their critical thinking. It doesn't have to be harder. It doesn't mean more questions or another handout, because those can very well be boring even if they're more difficult. Now, hopefully this PD, and I know it's a sit and get for now, okay? In what environments do you learn best? When you go to a PD and someone rambles at you, are you checked in and all in? Are you engaged? Or do you slowly become bored? Now, I'm asking an adult. Now think about students, children. whether they're in middle school or high school or elementary school specifically, but middle school, high school, they're still children. Their brains are still developing. They're still learning how to fight through hard things. They're still developing that grit. I don't want to be here doing this. We as adults should be able to sit there and say, but I have to be. At least we're sitting there saying, I'm doing it for a paycheck. What's their motivation? So in what environments do you learn best? Do you learn best when you're able to create something and do dynamic things, or do you do best when you sit there and just have to absorb information? So we use, in Harnett County, we use something called Major Clarity, and it's technically for careers, but one of the surveys they do is a learning style survey. And I want you to look at these numbers. This is from my middle school, and you have a grade A, grade B, and grade C. If you look at that, almost 40%, on average, 40% of the students sitting in their classroom, their primary learning style is kinetic, which means they need to be doing something with their learning. They need to be manipulating something. And we're in an age right now that we can manipulate stuff so easily. We can use our digital tools because 99% of schools now are one-to-one. You have stuff that they can create with and manipulate with, and that's why we're going into Google Slides and why it's so important to take something as simple as Google Slides that most of your students know, or at least can learn really quickly. In order to create these dynamic learning experiences, helping them learn and do something with their hands, and getting them out of that boredom and that game of school and into something more interesting, even if the content's the same. Even if the content is stuff they don't want to learn about. Once you start adding creativity to it, making a podcast or a video or some kind of visual or taking, we'll get into some options here in a minute, okay? But again, not only do we need to do it because it's of neuroscience, we also need to do it because that's how our students learn best. Now, they learn the other ways. It doesn't mean we exclude the other ones. But if we're not getting them hands-on doing something, if we're not getting them making something, if we're not getting them building something, creating something, we're losing 40% of our population. And they're getting bored. So, ways to use Google Slides. Let's jump into it. So, here's just some of my ways that I can think of using Google Slides. Many of these I've done with classrooms. And I'm going to show you examples of a lot of them. You can do posters, vocabulary posters, story posters, make your own propaganda posters, book cover remake. Oh, it's going to jump. A Gif Short Story, which I'll show you and I've done PDFs on before. Newsletter, interactive poster, infographic. Timeline. You can do comic strips, vocabulary books, social media posts, and so many more. Think about this way, ready? You teach it once, and then you can build on it. And we'll talk about that later as well. So here's some posters that we've done. I had this is one that some of my students did. We were talking about location in a geography class. This was here in a science class about solid liquid gases. This was a motivational poster. This was one that I did in a PD with one of my teachers. This was my art teacher, and it was all about me poster. How easy to introduce people with all about me poster. Okay, event poster, Black History Month. I had a challenge, and students did this. That was actually over COVID. They did it virtually. Infographics. So I'm going to click on these, and I'm going to show you what they look like, and then I'm going to show you that I'm giving you access to what it looks internally as well. So this would be an infographic. Coordinate planes, graphing. This would be math, this could be science. Down here, real world graphing. What's more real than COVID? Okay, these kids still understand what COVID was. This was real. Here's real graphs, interpreting data. Now, they've stopped collecting data, but it's still recent, it's still current. Here's some videos from Khan Academy. But let's look here. What are these here for? If I click on the 8, oh, it's quadrant 1. How about the 9? It's going to tell me that's an XY. That's a coordinate pair. Click here to ask. So you sit there and say, whoa, 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 that's crazy. How do you do that? Click here, and it will show you what it looks inside. So literally, 8 here goes to a slide. So it's linked to slide 6. So slide 6 is a coordinate plane and gives me information. And then what does this do? This goes back to first slide. How do you do that? You right-click on it, and you click link, and you link it to what slide you want to, or external link. It's that simple. So when they click here, when they click on it, it goes back to the first slide. So let's look at that infographic again. If I click on 1, that's the x-axis. Click on 3. origin. So think about something this as a review activity of, hey, here's your vocabulary words. I want you to make something. I want you to pull a real world graphing example, and I want you to mark these things on it. You're going to get a whole bunch of different ones, but they're making something with it. They're demonstrating their learning, and it doesn't have to be a boring quiz or test, as much as they are good to have. And again, here's a volcano one. So again, there's a GIF behind here, and then here, I linked it. Think of it like a hyperlink page to different stuff that I could technically give to my students, and then they could go look at it, or maybe they found these resources. All right, moving on for time. All right, comic strip. Here's a video. Here's an example. Okay, again, comic strip. Gif Short Story. This is one of my favorite ones. So did you know that you can make a GIF using Google Slides? So I've done a PD called Digital Flipbook, where all of these have been done in Google Slides. And if you want to know how, click on this and it'll show you the original. So literally, if you make it and you make a small change between the slides, like a flipbook, and then you export it, which I'll show you how later, well, kind of, I'll show you where the link is, so if you want to dive into that a little bit more, then you can. So this is my presentation on Gif Short Stories. So if you want to know how to make those, if you want to do this in your classroom, click on here and it'll take you to that slide presentation. Vocabulary book. I did this in a PD. Both of these were done by teachers. This was a guidance counselor did a emotional vocabulary book, and this is one of my 7th grade science teacher or social studies teachers. So you click on it, they export it as a PDF, and then they have this here, which is a vocabulary book. We can do vocabulary strips all day long, but imagine your students doing a vocabulary book for each unit, and then at the end of the year, they have a set of vocabulary books for them to use to review stuff. And again, they're now connecting a visual with a word and a phrase, which means that they're taking that from short-term memory to long-term memory because they're having to create with it. They're having to interpret it. They're having to add those visual things to it versus you just write on the board, then write down a notebook. Research shows that doesn't lead to learning. It leads to them understanding maybe, but short-term memory, maybe they got it, but most of the time, long-term memory, at the end of the year test, don't have it. What about a newsletter? So if you click on here, here's an example newsletter, 100% made in Google Slides. And there's links. So this links to one we're going to talk about here later. This links to an ISTE podcast spotlight. This is kind of one of my big sayings, all educators are designers. And this is a using Canva how-to video on an integration idea. So again, you can explore that further on your own. But again, you can have students make a newsletter. So this is one that we're going to dive into a little bit more, and this is where I'm going to challenge you to make something. So this is an Instagram carousel. So if you were to, a carousel rotates. So if you're ever on Instagram or Facebook, or if you're on Twitter or X, and you slide through it and you go image to image to image to image, that's a carousel. So this is a carousel. This, the ghost and the crow, this was all made. I grabbed the images and used an AI feature, I believe, or grabbed it offline. I can't remember for this one. It's been a minute since I made it. But I made this poem. Oh my goodness, kids write a poem and then they make an Instagram carousel about it. You took it from, you just write a poem, many kids, you tell them, you're going to write a poem and then we're going to make it into an Instagram carousel. You took it that next step just so easily and simply. So if you want to see what the raw project looks like, it's right here. There it is, simple. It is text boxes, it's a background image. That's it. Kids know how to use text boxes. You know how to use text boxes. You know how to use background images. And I will give you a template, which we're going to use here in a minute, in order to break this up so it evenly breaks up like this. I got you back. All right. So this is where it's going to be creation time. This is where I'm going to give you 10 minutes to work on something. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to use one of these templates below. You can do a 2-section or a 4-section, and you're going to create an Instagram carousel. You can use an AI generative tool to create a poem or story if you want to. ChatGPT, Magic School, Brisk, School AI, whatever one you want to use if you want to. Or you can make it on your own. But I challenge you to use a generative AI tool in order to generate something when it comes to the poem or story. So my poem here, this here, in a big house where shadows roam, a crow perched high made itself at home. With feathers dark as the midnight sky, it crawed and crawed, oh so sly. So I think, ChatGPT to make this, and then I edit it a little bit. So again, just because it exports it as a final product doesn't make a final product. You still need to look at it and review it. Okay, so use a generative tool, AI tool, to make one. Sections, if you do a 4, section is always in title 1. For either one of them, section 1 is the title. Sections 2 through 4, or just section 2, is your poem. Keep in mind blank or white space. It's good to have places where there's nothing going on. Even though in mine there's a background, your eyes are pulled to this because of contrast, because of the white lettering. And notice I put it down on the darker part of the screen, but there's still a lot of blank space because it lets your eyes flow across the project. Okay? Too much is just as bad as not enough. Now, what I want you to do is, and I'm going to show you how here in a second, okay, is you're going to then share yours into this one here. If you want to see what some other people that did at a different conference, you can click on this one, but I'm not going to click on it. I'm not going to show you, okay? So you're going to share your creations in here. So let's see how this is going to work. What you're going to do is I'm going to click on this one here where it says 4, and it's going to have you make a copy. All right, so this is my title. So use this 4-section Instagram carousel template to bring creativity to your classroom. You're going to click on this one here, and you're going to fill in. This would be section 1, section 2, 3, and 4. These are where it would be divided if you break it up for an Instagram carousel. Now, what does that look like? I use this app here called Unsquared. So here's a very, very quick video. So I click on the app. If you want to do it and break it up, you click on the images that you want to use. You click on what is the long image. You click the check mark. You then click on 4 if it's 4 sections, and then it breaks it up from 1 image to 4 images. That's it. It's that simple, okay? So again, I'm going to use this 4-section one. If you're inserting a title, insert, and here is your text boxes. You add a text box, okay, title. If you don't know how to add a background, if you click here, you're going to you click on the background, you can add a background, but if I do a background, it's going to use the whole thing. I don't want that. I'm going to get an image, and I'm just going to put it here, and I'm going to stop it before these lines. And then I'm going to put probably the same image that spans the whole cross. I can do one across the whole thing. Creativity, 100% on you. As long as it's a poem or a story. That is our learning. That is our objective right now. That's our standard, is either a poem or a story. Pretend. Our standard is that we're developing and writing a poem or a story. How you make your carousel is 100% up to you. You just need to make it. I've given you the confines. I've given you the structure, which is a poem or story. Hopefully, we've written this poem or story in the classroom. Hopefully, we've talked about poems or stories. We've read good poems and stories. They've now created their own poem and story. Now they're just going to create it into a visual. They're going to create an artifact from it versus it just being typed into Word or written on a piece of paper. They're actually going to make it into a final product that you can share out. Okay? So use this. There are some resources in the slides a little bit later. Then what you're going to do before you turn it in is you're going to click on these and you're going to delete those lines. So again, all I do is click on them. They're all grouped together. And then hit delete, and then they're gone. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go to File, and you're going to go to Download. And you're going to go to Download as a PNG. Okay? So I'm going to go to Download, PNG. It's then going to download it as a PNG. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to your creations here. That's you guys. And I'm going to grab one of these slides here. So here's some more instructions, or a JPEG, either one, PNG or JPEG. You're going to click on this. You're going to go to Insert Image, Upload from Computer. You're then going to grab the one you downloaded, and then you have yours. So what it should hopefully look like is here's a collection of different people's work from NC Ties. When I did, that was a 2-section. That was a 4-section. That was a 4 section. That was a 4 section. Okay. Again, so this is them turning poems or stories into an Instagram carousel. Okay. So feel free to look through those as well. But I want you to make one. Please make one. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 10 minutes. 10 minutes to create. So I'm going to put a timer on. We're going to have background music or whatever. While that is going, I'll probably come back in and put a couple like, hey, just remember, well, while we're in it. But again, a 10-minute timer, 10 minutes to work on your Instagram carousel, okay? So again, 10 minutes. What you're going to do is click here on the carousel template, make a copy, and you're going to edit slide 2. Okay, you're going to add your title, add your poem you generate. Okay, if you don't finish in these 10 minutes, please turn it in later so we and other people can see what you made. I hate having students create something, having teachers create something, and then they go in the black hole called turned in, and then they are never seen the light of day again. It's terrible for me to make something, for you to make something, for me to ask you to make something, and then never show it to anybody else. Okay, so 10 minutes. 10 minutes to work on your Instagram carousel. Ready, set, go. 2 minutes remaining. 2 minutes left of work time, and then I'm going to re-show you how to turn it in. About 2 minutes left for work time of your 10 minutes. Go ahead, finish your final touches as time runs out. All right, so time's up. Hopefully you have had a chance to make something, simple or not. Again, you're going to use it turn it under share your creation. So again, you're going to click on this link here if you haven't already. You are going to pick a slide, any slide, just not one somebody else has used, all right? And you're going to go to insert, image, upload from your computer, and you're going to grab the one you downloaded, and then you're going to add it here. If you want to add your name to stuff, then do. If you don't, awesome. Okay, again, so that's how to turn it in. So I want to take this opportunity to kind of think about this, because we've talked about it without using these vocabulary words or talking about it in this way. When you hear the word scaffolding, what do you think of? Throw it in the chat and so other people can see it. Where in education is applied? It's applied within context of standards learning. You learn how to, number sense, and then you do, 2 plus 2, and then you end up doing subtraction, and then multiplication, division, and then algebra, and then everything else that gets way complicated, right? But do you ever think of it when it comes to using tools in your classroom? If I were to sit there at the beginning of this and sit there and say, all right, you're going to do a poem and do an Instagram carousel, ready, set, go, some of y'all probably would get really overwhelmed really quick. But isn't that what we do with our students? We learn about atmospheric layers or geometry or whatever. And then we sit there and say, all right, now you're going to use this tool. And ready, set, go. And just so you know, not only are you learning concepts, you're learning vocabulary, you're learning a new tool, and it might not be something that is a strength of yours. You're also going to be tested on it. And guess what? It's going to be a test grade. And if you don't pass it, ugh. But you see it as a teacher. I see it as a teacher quite often as I'm giving them a chance to be successful. But you just made that so stressful on them, they don't know what to do. Some of them are like, oh yeah, I got this. But then there's that other handful, they don't even try. Because we made it so high risk. Everything's new. And it's worth a test grade. So I wanted you to think about it this way. Can Google Slides be used as scaffold stuff? Can you scaffold Google Slides? In my view, Google Slides can be used for so much more than just creating presentations. You can use it to scaffold throughout the year. Now, I'm going to say that you can use Google Slides, you can use Canva, you can use School AI, if your county allows these, you can use School AI, you can use a whole bunch of different tools. This is not about Google Slides anymore. This is about introducing them to a tool, getting them comfortable with a tool, and then building upon it just like you would do with a curriculum. Okay, so in what ways could we scaffold Google Slides activity? Let's start with an all about me poster. Hey, at the beginning of the year, you're gonna make an all about you poster. You're gonna take a picture of yourself. You're gonna add a couple of images that you can find in Google Slides that are about you. You're gonna add a text box. You're gonna add a shadow to it. You're teaching them the basic skills of Google Slides because you're going to use it later for a test grade or a big project. But you're starting with that foundation. Okay, what about now you have them do vocabulary posters or flyers or a vocabulary book? Every unit, you're going to pick 5 out of the 10 vocabulary words, and you're going to make a poster about them, and you're going to turn them into a book. And you're going to do this for every unit. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down your vocabulary words. And those vocabulary words, when we get to it, at the end of the unit, you need to do a vocabulary poster for 5 of them. I'll add them to the board and add them to my wall. And if you have nothing to do, or if you have some free time, start working your vocabulary posters because you're making one. I guarantee you the beginning of the year ones are going to look completely different than the end of the year ones. Why? Because they're getting more comfortable with the tool. Just like you would, just like I do. I'm using Canva for a lot of things. I use Google Slides for a lot of things. My beginning stuff does not look like the stuff I make anymore because I've used it. I've learned a skill here and a skill there, and I've applied it to other things. Okay, what else could we do it for? So we started with About Me. Now we did posters, and we've been doing posters. Now I want you to make an infographic, okay? I'm going to use all the basic understanding I have from before, and now I'm going to start adding links like I showed you before. And you can link it to other slides inside the presentation, external links, videos, a video student makes. You could have it linked to a collection of their work, okay? But again, I didn't just jump into an infographic that has links in it. I started basic. I built upon them. We built up to these times. So when we do say this, they're only learning new parts to how to use Google Slides, not all of it at the same time. They're taking a bite of the elephant at a time. So you're going from these low risk to these high risk things. You're going from these very simple, basic, to these more complicated things. But it doesn't feel as challenging. You haven't created these unnecessary mental blocks for the students because they go, whoa, 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 whoa. I have to do what? And as a test grade? Because they're used to going to Google Slides. This is how I'd be running my classroom nowadays, whether it be with Canva, whether it be Google Slides, whether it be Adobe, whether it be whatever that might happen to be right now, and whatever you use in your county. But there are so many simple ways to challenge the students to take it out of that boredom and to make it complicated and challenging, not harder, more in depth. You're reaching for the deep understanding. Not only that, but every time they do this, they're taking that instruction and they're taking that information and putting it from short-term memory to long-term memory. This is not just an opinion. This is fact. Neuroscience says it. They have shown it. There are multiple research studies out there. And if you want to have a deeper conversation with me about that, let me know. I've been reading a book called Neuroteach, and oh my goodness, this leads to not just learning, but it leads to knowledge. Okay? So again, here again is some stuff. Now, I'm going to show you one more thing before I leave here. Okay? Here's another Instagram carousel I made. Here are some templates. So what I'm going to do this first here. So I'm going to go back to my copy of Instagram carousel. And you probably saw this and said, what in the world, how did he get that shape? If you go to File, and if you go to Page Setup, normally it's on one of these here. If you go to Custom, you can put in there whatever you want to and change the dimensions of your paper, of your canvas. Now, this is the Instagram carousel one. So if you want to do this with your students, I've given you templates for that, okay? So all you got to do is copy these templates, have them make a copy of it. And again, if you don't want to do that, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to go to my link, which you can't see up top. But if I go and copy my link, and after it, I delete this all the way back to edit, and I put copy. I don't know if you can see it. You can see it right here, okay? So I deleted what it was here after this. So let's go back here. So you see how it says all the way up here to edit? You're going to delete all the way back to edit. leave that backslash or forward slash, whatever it is, and put copy. And when you do that, it's going to then you copy that link. That's a shortcut for them generating a copy. So again, if you need to know how to do that, there's a lot of videos out there on that. Here are some helpful videos. You can insert insert images. Did you know you can add fonts to Google Slides? So again, I'm going to go here to this one here. I'm going to go to my fonts. So text box, insert text box here. And if I go to my fonts, add fonts, more fonts. There's more fonts. There's a whole bunch of fonts. There's types of fonts. You can go like creepy. There you go. Boom. And now it's like a Halloween. Okay. So again, that's in this video here. This changing dimensions, which I just showed you a minute ago. Here is Google Slides basics. So design elements. Here's some websites to help kids with designing colors and fonts and what goes together. Understand the more graphic design type stuff. And here are a whole bunch of different things. This is a brochure. And it'll have you generate a copy. There's the front, there's the back. Here's Instagram carousels. Here's a Twitter or Facebook post. So all of these are yours that you can use. So thank you for taking time and watching this. Even though I wasn't live, I apologize. Here's my website. Here's the actual link to it. Here is a QR code for it. Here's my social media. Please follow me. And then I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully it's changed your mindset on approaching the classroom, students for this year, and you going, oh my goodness, now how am I going to scaffold this? Start basic. Where can I apply some basic activities? So again, thank you. Make sure you do the attendance and feedback form for the conference. I appreciate your time. Hopefully you have a fabulous school year. Again, I'm Caleb Haslam. Please follow me, watch my stuff. I don't get paid for any of this. I do all this free. I do this for teachers. I do it for you. I do it for my teachers at my school. I hope you've enjoyed.